Quick video here on preparing tomatoes for canning. So this is the end product here. These are skinned Roma tomatoes, skinned and de-seeded. So I put them in these small containers, which I can put into the fridge and then leave a day for all the pressure canning. All right, so those are all tomatoes there. So this is how I do it. Very small pot, hot salt water. Tomatoes around the same size. For this pot I usually put about 6 to 8 tomatoes depending on the size. Drop it in really quick. It's going to be like 20 seconds say. One sink. So you are going to take the tomatoes from the stove, put them into this sink, and then this you're going to let them sort of lose some heat in the sink, and then put them in this sink, let them lose the rest of the heat, and then process them. Okay, so these ones are done. You can take these out, pour them in here, let the water heat up a little bit, let it bubble. And in the meantime, I'll take a tomato. Okay, so this is how I do it. So these have already been blanched. Cut it in half, and then you kind of shuck it. Basically, you just with the proper knife. So this serrated knife seems to work best for this job. So take out the seeds and the hard part at the top, and then remove the skin. Don't remove the skin first because it will be slippery and harder to remove the seeds inside. Okay, and then I like to have some salt water off to the side. So I got a little salt water here just to remove the remainder of the seeds. Okay, so I'll just do that again. So hold it in your hand like that. Keep the skin on so you have grip. And then shuck it. Use the front of your thumb to push as many of the seeds out as you can. Inspect it, make sure there's no rot, smell it, and then pinch the skin. Just pinch it off. Pinch it off, dip it in the salt water. Salt water into your container to store in the fridge. And then I like to just sprinkle in some bay leaves. Sprinkle a few bay leaves in there, maybe a sprig of thyme. And that's that. So you keep the process, you know, basically this is for one person. One person can handle, this is my 3rd bushel. You can sort of handle this in a small space. You do need to change the water ever so often. Just by feel, you can tell how hot it gets. So change the water, transfer these tomatoes into the cold water, and just keep repeating the process. Try not to create a bottleneck. Let your water get bubbling again. So the water's bubbling. 6 to 8 tomatoes for this size of pot. Drop them in. 20 seconds, no more. Really, the way I time it, like I can finish 1 tomato by the time those are done. Sometimes half, depending on how difficult the tomato is. Okay. That's 1, 2. Get as many of the seeds out in here as you can. And then put them in the salt water. In the salt water, you'll get the rest of the seeds out. Okay, those are done. Probably even a little bit too long there. Some more cold water in there. And, you know, I do about 3 rounds. 3 rounds in the hot water, and then I spend a little bit of time taking the skins and seeds out. Let the water heat up again, and close that bottleneck in the production line. All right. So that's how you prepare these Roma tomatoes. The next step in this process tomorrow, what I'll do is pressure can everything to make it shelf stable. And then at some point, I can process these pressure can Roma tomatoes into pomodoro sauce or whatever else, you know, you can imagine. And that's it. That's the process. have some good music going. And just shuck the tomato, skin it, just hold it with 2 fingers. And then there's just kind of like a pinch. Just pinch the skin and pull it. If you've got the heat right, if you blanch them properly, they should have a sort of sheen like this. The skin should come off quite cleanly. If they start to feel really soft, like this one feels a little soft, it probably means they were in there for too long, and it's going to lead to a messier looking tomato. Still usable, but it makes the job a little harder when you leave them in the hot water for too long. Okay. I think that'll do it. 6-minute video on tomatoes. To process the tomatoes by hand like this, instead of using, because I do actually have, you know, the full electric tomato processor, but the sauce you get from a tomato that's processed by hand, you know, it has a texture, it has you can see the tomato in the sauce, and even though it's a little bit more work to do it this way, I think the end result from your cooking it's better. It's a little more natural.